Hello everyone, hello, happy Friday. Glad you all could make it. Let me get the chat going here, 1 second. Hope you all are doing well. Happy Friday. Oh, doggy camera, 1 second. I did have to reconnect that, so I think I need to, oh, did you just like start working? That would make this a lot easier. 1 second. I need to zoom in. I've somehow accidentally moved my taskbar on my computer and now it's like in the wrong spot and it's like messing me up. There we go. Zoom and enhance. There we go. Alrighty. Ta-da! Now we have Puppuccino on the stream. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So I'm going to assume you can hear me. You can see me. All the things that are working are working. All the things that should be working are working. Where? Okay. The taskbar is like really messing me up. Like, where is everything? Okay, there we go. I got it. For some reason, it is looking on my end like YouTube doesn't think I'm live, which is weird. Seems obviously is vid and audio out of sync. It shouldn't be. It doesn't look like it is on my end. So if it is out of sync, that is because something is happening with YouTube, and I don't know what it is. So let's hope that's not like an actual thing. Okay, so with that being said, hi everyone, welcome to my Friday live stream. I am Evie. If somehow you don't know that, how did you find my channel? I'm so curious, but my name is Evie, and here on my channel every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, we hang out and we ask questions and we answer them, generally talking about kink, BDSM, polyamory, dating apps, pop culture news, LGBT stuff. Oh my god, they're hacking my dog in the Matrix. What's happening? Oh my god. What is happening to the dog camera? Whoa. Okay, wait. What the fuck? What is happening? Let me see. Oh no, now it just died. Oh, that's not good. Okay. But actually, you have to get up and unplug stuff. 1 second. Oh my god. All right, I don't know what happened. It is hot outside, and it has been hot outside for the last little while. So it might just be that it's too hot and my camera can't handle all of that. Like, I don't have a fan over there for it, and it is kind of in the way of the window, so it does get light on it. But otherwise, I don't really know. So okay, I guess they need to just go about her business unbothered today, unobserved by the masses. So unfortunately, I will not have the bandit camera on. I might try later to just plug it back in again and turn it back on and see what happens, but that was weird. I hope it's not broken, but I can't test that right now, so I'm just gonna fuck it, we do it live, I guess. Yes, I am back now. I am back. Yeah, I'm surprised it went for the doggo camera first. I'm surprised it wouldn't come after me. Hello, Evie in chat. Keep up the informative videos and streams. I definitely will. Thank you. Yes, these are new tattoos. It's like barely the beginning of some. You can see old stuff back here. It's interesting, like how much the color changes as stuff ages. But this is like barely the start of some new thingies that are happening. So I'm excited about it. There will be more new. I'm kind of just doing this, and like this is the plan. But I haven't actually, we only did this because there's a lot of design agreements that had to be made about the rest of things. And so we did the stuff that was solid. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, new tattoo stuff. It's like at that stage, you have tattoos, you know, it's at that stage where like, it's like dry and you have to like keep putting lotion on it, but then when you rub in the lotion, like the tattoo part flakes off and you're worried you're gonna lose the tattoo. That's the stage. It's luckily not super itchy right now, but like with the hot weather, I was really worried about like, I need to just not do anything. I can't go outside because if I sweat out this ink, it's gonna be really bad. Yeah. Anyways, what the heck was I talking about when the dog camera started glitching? Oh yes, I was doing the intro. So we do a little Q&A every Friday here on the channel. It is 18 plus only because we do talk about adult subjects and we are adults talking to other adults about adult things. So therefore, makes sense. We want to make sure we're all adults here, you know. So please be at least 18 to be here. Please also read the rules and FAQ down below. I promise they are very simple. Basically, listen to me, listen to the chat. Don't listen to the chat. They say listen to the mods in the chat. Sometimes y'all are pretty good, but I don't want to give people a carte blanche and start thinking they're king of the castle. So listen to me, listen to the mods. Be polite to people in the chat. Okay, don't spam the chat. And you'll have a good time. So the way that this goes is normally I answer questions in the order they come in. That is to keep it as fair as possible for everyone. You also have the option of using a super chat or Streamlabs down below if you would like to make sure that I get to your question right away. We have a Q&A box in the chat as well if you would like to ask a question a little bit more privately. It just keeps your question in like a special area so I know it's a question for me. And it won't like get lost if we get like disconnected. It won't like it'll stay there and I'll be able to keep track of it because sometimes YouTube, once the stream's been going for long enough, YouTube will essentially like erase the memory of the earlier parts of the chat to save space somewhere for some reason because they think that people don't need to scroll that far back in chat history most of the time. So use the Q&A box for that. Otherwise, you can just ask in the general chat if you would like to get other people's opinions as well as mine. And we go in order. We usually have some topics. Obviously, I recently published a fairly long video, actually, about the voice note guy or the voice memo guy from TikTok. And that obviously sparked a lot of conversation and had been sparking a lot of conversation about boundaries and consent and flirting and approaching women in public. So many weird things are happening. I don't know. There was somebody outside walking a cat on a leash earlier today. It's like upside. I don't know what's happening. Some weird stuff's going on. Thank you so much, Sean, for the start of stream gifts. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And that is what will happen if you ask me a question on the stream. Is it will show up like this, and then look at that. Look, it's so cute. Little me with my little notebook. It's adorable. And we also have memberships as well. They are 99 cents if you'd like to have access to the emotes in the chat as well as get a special icon in the chat. You can get gifted one if you hang out in the stream, which is super generous and amazing. Thank you to our amazing, generous donors. But it essentially exists so that way we can have emotes in the chat because emotes are fun. And welcome, Lexi. Glad you could make it. And welcome to everyone else who is in the stream. So that, I think, is everything I normally say in introduction, other than in the rules. Okay, need to mention this. I don't give medical advice. I don't give mental health advice. Now, if you want some peer-to-peer, life experience base, you know, as a friend type information about like, hey, I feel really sad. My dom and I broke up 6 months ago and I'm still not over it. What should I do? Or I think I might be experiencing limerence and I'm obsessively thinking about this person all the time. what can I do? Okay, I can certainly talk to you about human emotions, but when it comes to diagnosing issues, telling you if you're capable or not, or doing something, or if something is safe for you or not, I don't know. So I'm going to be like, hey, mental health professionals are great. There's some resources out there for finding kink-aware mental health professionals that oftentimes have a sliding cost scale to them, so you can check that out if you want to. But yeah, that's what you need to know about that. And anyways, I'm not a doctor. I'm not gonna be able to tell you if something is infected or if you should be concerned. I would say if you feel concerned about something, you probably should talk to a medical professional. Oh my gosh, Twixie's been up since 3 a.m. traveling to a family reunion / music festival. That is an amazing combination of things to happen. I got breakfast at the largest buffet in the Americas. Second largest in the world. The largest buffet in America, the largest buffet in the world isn't in America? Is it in like China or something? Like, where do they have the largest buffet in the world? That's shocking it is not here. That's like American culture. That's wow. I am fascinated. American culture is, well, it is what it is. I believe I saw somebody on Twitter the other day saying that the peak of American culture is getting ice cream at a land-grant university, which I feel like that is kind of, yeah, getting American-style hard ice cream, walking around a campus. That is definitely a very American experience, for sure. Breakfast buffet. Also, I feel like of all the buffets, a breakfast buffet probably would be the best. I'm not really a buffet person. I don't know. It's not really a thing here. Buffets are not really a Portland specialty. My Q&A keeps changing from stream to stream. That is really weird. I don't know what YouTube is doing. If they're just like, they're probably like A/B testing like where things go and see how that changes engagement and to finalize a design. That is super weird though. Hey everyone, this is my first stream I could catch from the beginning in a while. Glad you could make it, Little B. Welcome. We love it when people can stop by and say hi. Yes, I will definitely keep up the videos. Yes, definitely some technical difficulties, but you know, it's 90 degrees outside, so you know what? I just expect that's gonna happen when I don't have AC. I'm just gonna deal with technology going on the fritz every now and again. Just listening to some Concrete Blonde. I remember buying the albums back in the 90s, but now thanks to YouTube, just to click away. I have never listened to Concrete Blonde before. What genre are they? Are they worth listening to? I'm assuming yes, from your reaction. I have been really into, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. It's not embarrassing at all. I've been really into like 90s, how do I even describe, like, I guess like 90s like alternative dance music, I guess is the most general way of saying it. Like all the way like industrial, electro-industrial, EBM, acid house, like kind of that whole like range of things, just to like listen to something different every once in a while. Because I listen to music at the gym pretty much every night, and sometimes, you know, it's fun to listen to the same things over and over and over again, but everyone, you want to try something different, you know, you want to have something different on. And I can only listen to so much Sleep Token, and it also previously had like My Chemical Romance Fall Out Boy like gym music phase, and then like I kind of like listened to that way too much, and so now I'm just like going like in a couple of weeks, get back to me, I'm gonna be listening to like disco music. So it's great stuff. Largest buffet, I believe, is in Taiwan, but the reason for the reunion festival combo is my grandmother lives walking distance from the free festival. Ah, excellent. Glad it's free, and hope your grandmother and family are doing well. I cannot think of anything I'd rather go to less than a family reunion, but that's my family, so luckily I don't have to do that because no one's organizing one, so it's not even a problem. Yeah, Bandit temporarily achieved 5D consciousness. I don't even know how she did that. Now she's snoozing. Oh, snoozer, yeah. So cute. be streaming music soon. That's exciting. Knock on wood, because it seems every time I say I'm streaming music stuff soon, some earth-shattering life event happens. Okay, I'm knocking on wood for you, Lexi. I don't know if this is actually real, like, wood or not. We're gonna say that it is. And in my heart, I believe it's wood, so I'm gonna knock on it. I'm gonna say we're good. In high school, I ended up with just one class, and my teacher would let me plug in my MP3 player. I had two choices for music, classical and Rammstein. That's really funny, but that also sounds like how German classes went in my high school. It's good stuff, good stuff. I didn't take the German classes, but I heard about them from other people. Ever tried the Las Vegas prime rib and lobster buffet? The desserts were so good. You know, actually, here's some like weird lore. I did go to Las Vegas, but I was in high school. I don't know why. My family did not go on vacations. We did not like that. We did not have like we're going on a European summer adventure. Like, we didn't do that shit. We just like stayed at home all summer. But for some reason, one year, my family was like, let's go to Vegas. So we went to Vegas, and I was 15. I don't think, like, the only people who were of age were my parents. And I think the idea was, like, first of all, I have family members that love playing poker. So some people were there playing poker the whole time. And then the rest of us were like, I guess we walk around and do, I don't even remember what I think we did the buffets. I think we walked around to some of the, like, shopping areas. I don't remember going to any shows that were there. Like, we didn't go to any like concerts or anything. We didn't go to any of the, I know there's like exploratorium type experiences, but I think we're only there for like 2 full days. But I do remember being 15 years old and having people like shove the little like business cards for like brothels and like essentially Uber Eats for sex workers in your hands. Like, doesn't matter how old you are, if you're walking arm in arm with somebody, does not matter. You just have people, usually you can't really speak English, shoving stuff in your hands, and it's all advertisements for sex work the whole time. It's like, that was really awkward. It also was like 114 degrees when we were there. It was really hot, and I loved it. Other people were not prepared for it, though. It was rough. And obviously, I've been back to Las Vegas. I taught in Las Vegas earlier this year, and that was a lot of fun. But I did not go to any of the buffets because now I'm vegan, and I have been for years at this point. And so I haven't heard of there being any vegan buffets in Las Vegas. I looked up general vegan restaurants, and there were some. Wasn't a ton, but there were a couple. But if they had a vegan buffet, we'd check it out. But yeah, I'm definitely not the clientele for the lobster prime rib buffet. I do remember liking the desserts though. I definitely had a sweet tooth. I definitely got some of the desserts, and that being the best part of Las Vegas was just the volume of and the quality of buffets. I think it's very like a Midwestern kind of place. Like, it's a Midwesterner's idea of cutting loose. It's gambling, it's large quantities of food, and it's a lot of scantily clad women dancing around. It's sort of the way of things. All right, anyways, that's Las Vegas. I really need to get my first tattoo, but I'm scared about pain. Okay, let me talk to you about tattoo pain. And if you don't know, I don't know if this shirt shows it, but I can just stand up. So I have from here to here done. On and also the front of my legs. So I have had a lot of tattooing done, and you guys can't see any of it most of the time, which actually has been nice for me because I don't have to worry about people sending me dumb questions about what do your tattoos mean. It's for me to know, for you to never find out, even if whether it does or doesn't. It's not for you. So I've had a lot of my body tattooed at this point, and this actually, it goes up onto like the collarbone area a little bit. So I am not really a masochist. I'm definitely not a like stingy masochist. I do blood play stuff for the sake of blood. I kind of like the sensation of scalpels and needles, but not enough to do like an hour-long scene where somebody's just like cutting my skin or something. I would run through my adrenaline so quickly. But I have done a lot of like 4 to 6 hour tattoo sessions, and for the most part, it's not that bad. Actually, I was thinking while we were doing, I think it was like this part here. Not so much the bony part is like, oh no, it's some sensation. But this part here, like any of the shoulders and the arm, is like, it's almost kind of like pleasantly scratchy. Like it feels like, I've heard somebody describe it as like, it's like a cat's tongue licking at you. And I feel like that's very accurate. Like it can get, especially if you're doing a lot of like deeper like black work stuff like this, you're doing over bones, like that's not super fun. I think probably the worst was like my hip bones. That was because I have some darker black stuff there. That was like pretty bad. But even then, it's like a 7 out of 10 is like the most painful. But I would say you kind of just hit your cruising altitude, and then it's like probably, to me, the majority of my body has been like a 2 to a 5 out of 10. Like it's very doable. I can sit and do it for hours. I just like sit and like plug in my headphones, and like it's not a big deal. It's like it is if you can do like a caning scene, you can get a tattoo. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. I understand the fear of like if you've never felt it before. It's like it's such a unique sensation that if you haven't experienced it, it's like, oh my god, am I going to be able to handle this? What if I get this designed and it's going to like suck the whole time or have to like pussy out? There are also, especially if you are doing like darker stuff like black work, I don't do this, but I know other people who do. There are people who do black work tattoos that will actually, I don't know if they mix in, they do something with numbing agent in the tattoo ink. I'm pretty sure. I don't know exactly how it works. And that it doesn't get rid of the pain entirely, but it makes it a lot better apparently. So, and they use like, I've seen advertisements for like the Zensa numbing cream and stuff that you can ask your tattoo artist about, but it's really not that bad. Like I'm very sensitive. I'm a sensitive being. I am a princess in the pea when it comes to sensations. If my body is not rocking with something, it's a no-go, and like I will let people know. But yeah, it wasn't as bad as I was afraid of, and then that enabled me to just like keep going. So anyways, it's really not that bad. I know other people think that tattoo pain really sucks and they don't like it at all, and they just like grin and bear it. I have a ribcage tattoo, and that freaking hurt. I have like here, I don't have the front of my ribs at all, but I have like side. I have like this is all done. So I have like side rib and side hip bone. And like even the ribs were more like tickly. It was like specifically like the very top of the like apex of the hip bone, like right there. That was like pretty spicy. And I was like, this is the first time I had really felt like I was like waiting for them to be done with that spot. Even my spine wasn't that bad. I have a lot of shit that's like on my spine, and like that I was like, whatever. Didn't really even notice. TBQH. I have a tattoo in the inner bicep. The worst pain was when the artist got closer to my part. I've heard that the like joints, so like especially like top of the elbow, inside part of the elbow, and the armpit, there's a lot of nerve endings, and then that's pretty bad. But I don't know, haven't had anything there yet. The closest is obviously what you're seeing here, and that wasn't too spicy. The worst part was definitely like here, right on top of my collar, but that like really wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as on my hip bone, but also the hip bone was a lot longer of a day. So, and it was like the last thing that we did. So that's also probably why it felt worse. Also, I should also say too, I was also on my period when I got this done. So like, if I can be like, what was I like? It was like day 2 of my period, and I was also getting like some pretty dark black stuff getting done, and I was getting it done over bone, and it peaked at a 7 out of 10. You're gonna be fine. It's not that big of a deal. It's totally fine. So anyways, that has got me thinking about, I know people do inkless tattoo gun stuff. Like I think Shay Tiziano's the one who teaches it. She started doing what she calls like a trace play class as an alternative to scalpels and scalpel stencils, where you use an inkless tattoo gun to make designs. And I'm not even interested in tattoo gun stuff for like, oh, I want to do like bloodplay design work stuff, because like most of my, like, I don't really, maybe at some point I do something that's like a more intentional like design cutting kind of thing, but I don't, that's not really what I use it for. But I am curious about using it as a, sounds weird to call it a sensation play tool, but like sensation play, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. Like, I get like abrasion play, like somewhere like heavy sensation play, abrasion play, kind of pain play. I would be curious about it for that purpose, but I'm also like running out of areas that don't already have tattoo on them, and so I don't know what would happen if you used an inkless tattoo gun over existing tattooed skin. I should really take that class. And they've taught it before at conventions I've gone to, and then I've like chosen not to go to it. So next time, I feel like it gets taught a lot. So like next time I get the opportunity, I'll take it. I'll tell you all what it's like. You sure not a masochist? Well, I don't know. Masochism's the eye of the beholder. I feel like I'm not a masochist, but maybe I have a different... I feel like I think that because I know people who are like dyed-in-the-wool capital M masochists, you know, where like their whole thing is masochism. Like their modus operandi for kink, the reason they do what they do, their whole thing is they like intensity, they like maximum intensity, and they like to be frank, they like break tops. Like they don't even know their own limits. They're just like, they have something fucking weird and chemical in their brain where it doesn't matter how hard it is, it doesn't matter how intense it is, how long it is, they're just the Energizer Bunny. They just keep going, and there's not, like, the only way you can stop them is like you have to point them at the wall and then like run them into a corner until they like get tired, and then they're done eventually. So I know a lot of people like that, or whose reasons for getting into kink were because of masochistic reasons, like, you know, they really liked, you know, like zapping themselves with like, you know, a 9-volt battery, or they really liked like, you know, pinching themselves or snapping a rubber band back, or they would poke themselves with like sewing needles and stuff. And I was like never that kid. I was actually very afraid of pain like most of the time. So I don't know. I feel like it's I don't feel like I can claim the title masochist. Also, I feel like it's not, if we're talking about titles as a descriptor for your motivations for what you're doing, I feel like I wouldn't call myself a masochist, because my motivation in kink is not experiencing pain, and like it's an accessory, it's like part of it, but more like my motivation comes a lot more from like emotional connection and like power exchange feelings, and sometimes it's about getting something out of the sensation, but that's very tertiary a lot of the time, and especially because the types of sensations I like are like so specific. It's basically just like abrasion and like heavy, like pure thuddy impact play. Those are basically the two kinds of sensations I like, which you can definitely like make scenes out of those, but it's, you know, I can have a pretty big toy bag, but then most of the time, if I'm using it, it's for suffering purposes and not for pain purposes. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, identifying as a masochist or not, it's a complicated question. I'd be surprised if there aren't some people who get tattoos because they like the pain of it. I mean, I feel like that's true. I'd only heard people describe tattoos as like addictive. and you like want to keep adding on and getting more. And I definitely know people who have done that where they get like one tattoo and it's always like the old school like Americana or like neo American style tattooing, like very like Sailor Jerry type stuff, and they'll get like one, and then like the next time you see them they have like a whole sleeve done of just like a bunch of different like neo American designs. And it's like, I'm so happy that you found a style that you like, that you think like suits you, and you have an artist that you like. But it's not for me. Not for me at all. But it is. I think once you know that you can do it, if you have the idea that you'd like to have a lot of tattoos, once you know that you can do it, you have an artist that you trust, you know, you don't literally feel like you're dying, then you can just like knock them out, and it's good. That was my partner as a kid. She poked herself with needles and sewed herself. Yeah, those are the people where I'm like, how can I be a masochist if like this is like the other people I know? Like I didn't do that. I didn't do that kind of thing at all. Did I do any? Like I definitely did like sensation-seeking behaviors, but I also feel like that's kind of just like kids at some point seek out sensations to learn about the world. But I definitely did not do anything that was like intentionally painful. It's that I can recall anyways. Yeah. Not every pain is masochism driven, just like not all BDSM is sexual. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And also, like, this is like my perception of masochism. I think, like, when I stop and I think about it, like, you know, masochism is, I think, more broadly about the intentional pursuit of intense sensations. And I think I would fall under that category. But again, I think if I'm trying to communicate to people what my motivations are, like why I do what I do and what I want out of relationships, I feel like describing myself as a masochist to most people would give them a false understanding of what I'm looking for, and I don't want to do that, so I don't say that. is essentially what it comes down to. So that's the reason why. But I think if I'm, you know, I guess I could just ask people, be like, do you think I'm a masochist? I can't promise I will get a response in a timely manner at this hour, but I am entertained by the idea of randomly asking somebody, do you think I'm a masochist? And then just seeing what they respond with. Random question, but... And see if they see that. I'll let you know if people get back to me on that one or not. This is do the deciding vote here. I think most masochists were brought into the role by others. You know, I don't know. I mean, that isn't my observation. I feel like that's more true of sadists, if anything. And you guys let me know if you think that, like, if that's different to you. But I would say most of the dynamics I know, most of the people I know, whether they identify, first of all, I know more people who identify as masochists than people who identify as sadists. But most of everyone I know who's a masochist was like a weird, freaky little kid and like liked really intense things, did a lot of very intense activities as a kid. Like they did a lot of like extreme sports, like circus, gymnastics, ballet, horseback riding. They did a lot of very intense things, or they were very, very, very driven people. They didn't necessarily have to be physical, but were like extremely driven. And as you know, if it was more the mental side, like they were, you know, straight A student, really, really high strung, very disciplined. The pain was like a way of escape from and release, and like a way to like be in their body in a way that they typically weren't. Or for the people who just kind of like gravitated towards really intense things, their kind of baseline way of existing is so intense that it's like a way for them to experience pleasure because they're so used to like a baseline level of like hard physical pursuits, essentially. And so typically they already knew that they were a masochist, and then it just took them a while to find partners who would do the kind of things that they liked, and do it in the safer way. Supposed to, like, I think what a lot of especially younger people go to who don't really know about the kink community, especially if they are more in that sadomasochism side of the spectrum, you get people who ask partners who maybe don't really know what they're doing to, like, suddenly do something in the bedroom that's, like, pretty intense, or they fall into relationships with people who, like, probably aren't really good people to date, but they do it anyways. They keep dating those people because, well, but they're the only person I know who's, like, capable of, giving me this experience. They don't realize there's this whole other world of people who are into the same things as them from the opposite side and are probably safer and more consent-minded. But that's my experience. Whereas a lot of the sadists I know, I mean, they can go back to their childhood experiences and identify things that are probably, in their heads at least, causal links to why they're into what they're into. Whether or not that actually means it's causal is a whole other subject, but they can identify those things, but their sadist side was a lot more buried than it was brought out by a partner. And usually don't even start out like with sadomasochism. Usually it comes out through a lot of bondage porn. That's a lot of the people I meet who are sadists, is they kind of, their gateway into kink is bondage porn, and then by getting into bondage and they kind of discover they like the pain and suffering that goes into tying up people, and then they get in relationships with people who want to explore other sensations outside of like rope or bondage, and then it kind of just goes from there. That's like a very general example. It's not always specifically that way, but that's mostly what I've seen is a lot of people getting into kink for like power exchange or bondage, and then the sadism part of it coming up later. I'm a masochist, even you read me to a T. Yeah, definitely. Throughout childhood, you have so many opportunities to be embraced by so many roles, but somehow you end up where you end up and choose to continue playing the roles you choose. That's on you. I mean, I think it's, it's complicated. I think personality is more flexible than we think it is. Like, I think in the modern society, we generally think of personalities as fixed thing that you're born with, and you're into what you're into, and you'd always be into the same things kind of no matter what. And I think in reality, if you were exposed to different things at a different age, if you were encouraged in different directions, you probably would end up a little bit differently. So the whole nature versus nurture thing. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that before. It's like a very new scientific concept, nature versus nurture. I think that's a part of it. And I think for kink, that's also there as well. But there's, a level of choosing. Obviously, you can choose to embrace any aspect of yourself that you want to or not. Because sometimes you decide this actually, if I were to embrace this would prevent me from like achieving other goals that I have or living the kind of life that I want to lead. Like, okay, if you want to run for Senate one day, if you want to literally be the president, you probably can't go to BDSM clubs in your 20s and 30s. That's probably not, maybe, in your like married relationship with like a prenup agreement, maybe you can do it there. But if you have aspirations of holding public office, you're probably not going to be going out to the BDSM club. Now, I don't go to clubs in DC. I've never been to a club in DC, so I might be surprised. I might be surprised at the kinds of people I see and meet if I were to go to kink events in the DC metro area. But I've definitely met people who even not even like that level of office, people who were like, I'm on the, what the heck is it called? I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce. I work at a daycare. Like, even people that are that level are so circumspect about how involved they are in kink. Like, they don't have a FetLife account. They don't post about it. They don't talk about it. They are, like, the only reason it would ever come up is because they saw on, like, maybe my profile that I said I'm kinky, and so, like, I'm a safe person to talk to about it. But if somebody else didn't bring it up first, it would never come up. It would never come up. So, yeah, it's interesting how our other life choices can dictate where we end up sometimes. Yeah. Child me was obsessed with capture and torture scenes and got very upset when they cut away right at the good part. Yeah, there's a lot of children's media that involves kidnapping, and it's shocking if that doesn't end up affecting somebody's psyche at some point. Congressional staffers are wild. Oh yeah, staffers I could see. Staffers I could see. But I also imagine that anyone in any sort of political position is probably not going to let anyone public see them at a BDSM club. Yeah, that's why they end up with places like Sanctum or like other worse places than that, you know? But then I don't know, you have fucking like, you have like Elon Musk and his idiot brother like go to like Burning Man. So like, I don't know, like if you're rich enough, if you get enough notoriety, you can kind of just like fuck around and do what you want. But for somebody who's running for like the state assembly in Illinois, like you kind of do have to keep things locked down. You know, yeah, not everyone can just say, you know, I am what I am. You know, if you're running as a, you know, I'm a family focused candidate, and I'm gonna reduce the cost of living for good, hardworking Americans. You know, if you're running on that kind of platform, you really can't be going and getting beat up in a gimp suit. You know, TMZ's gonna find out. They're gonna put it everywhere. I always had a disconnect in how I enjoyed pain in others, but I also wanted to take care of them and nurture them. Turns out I only wanted to give pain to those who wanted the pain. Consent is integral to me. Yeah. And I know that's one of the big differences between people who are consensual sadists and people who are non-consensual maladaptive sadists. I forget what the actual like clinical term is. It might be maladaptive. But, you know, there's people who genuinely care about, you know, both people want to be here. Even if you're acting like you don't enjoy it, you really do like it, you're like opting into this relationship, versus people where the whole point is they get off on somebody not wanting it at all on any level, and it has to be non-consensual for them to enjoy it. And people who are in that category largely are not and should not be part of the BDSM community. Welcome to the sleeveless optional post-tattoo mindset. Yeah. I mean, part of it is that my skin is really dry right now. And so I don't want clothing to like rub on my skin too much and like irritate it. And also it's 90 degrees outside, but it is nice to have options for sleeveless things. It's definitely big. This is definitely going to be a bigger part of the summer wardrobe. Like what even are sleeves? Why do we need sleeves? In the UK in the 80s, we had a political commentator who is outed as a client of a well-known pro-dom. That's actually not shocking about British politics at all. There is something in the water over there. British upper-class men love getting beat up by a strong woman. That is just par for the course on that side of the pond. It's amazing. Oh, hey, just wanted to say thank you so much for all that you've done. You've been a big part of me starting to explore, and I've been to a few classes at my local dungeon. That's so exciting. I'm glad that you are getting out there and exploring, and thank you so much for stopping in to let me know. That's so cute. I love hearing stories from people about that kind of thing. Religious repression is a hell of a drug. It is. Okay, wait, I might have a response. Okay. So here's at least one answer on the am I a masochist question. Said, no, I think you like intense sensations, but pain specifically just for the sake of pain isn't what you're into, is what they said. So there you go. That's essentially what I would say. So there you go. All right, I'm gonna scroll up here and look for some questions because we've been talking about tattoos and all this, that, and the other for a minute. I want to make sure we're getting to some questions here. As much fun as I have shooting the breeze and talking about tattoos and masochism, we can certainly keep talking about masochism if people have any follow-up questions they want to ask. But now that I have a definitive answer from the inside about whether or not I'm a masochist, I'm gonna keep going. Okay. Update, Bandita. Still snoozing. She's moved a little bit, but she's still snoozing. That was a great vid, by the way. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I had a lot of fun making it. I love a good opportunity to talk about consent because I know if I make a video that is just about boundaries, people will not click on it. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for the $20, D-Train. You are so welcome. Thank you for your generous donation. I really appreciate it. That's so nice. Thank you. But yeah, I love opportunities on social media where I get to weave in, I think, important conversations that I know if I made a video and I titled it like, even if I titled it something that was like kind of clickbaity, like if I called it everything you needed to know about boundaries or like how boundaries work or blah, 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 like that video would be like no views, no one would watch it, like 2,000 views, no comments, like no one would click on it because it's not like a fun, interesting, like it's not engaging. People don't want to click on that kind of thing. So I don't think it would be very successful. But if I can find a stupid social media thing that's happening, like discourse on TikTok about a voice note that a guy wrote, then I can have a 45-minute long conversation where we talk about what coercion looks like and how to recognize it and motivations for dating and how to communicate in a way that's not putting pressure on people. And that I think is really valuable and important. And I think especially identifying coercion is interesting because, I mean, I kind of knew this going into it, but this really crystallized like, 90% of people leave comments and they agree with me. And even if they didn't identify ahead of time, like without my commentary, that it was coercive, me outlining the fact that it was coercive, like helped them understand, oh, this is why this felt icky to me or this felt wrong or why, this came across as like aggressive. But then you get like a small minority of people, insofar as I can tell, all straight men. So that's interesting. Who will say, I think this is totally normal. This isn't pressuring anyone. This is just, you're overusing the term coercion. You're watering it down. And there's a subset of people who think that coercion is like this like legal term. And like coercion specifically means like physically pressuring someone to do something very overtly. And that's not what it means. And that's why I think a lot of people, like, coercion is very common. Most people are taught, well, not even most people, but especially a lot of straight men are taught directly or indirectly that in order to get what they want out of relationships, they need to be manipulative, they need to be coercive, because, any woman, isn't going to say what she wants. She's not going to say what she wants directly. She's not going to give you a short answer. And so it's on you to be pushy and forceful because either A, she secretly wants that, B, that's the only way you're going to get your needs met, or C, everyone does it and so it's fine, like kind of regardless. And in reality, a lot of people learn coercive tactics and they use them, but it doesn't mean that like it's diluting the meaning of coercion to point out that like, hey, if somebody tries to up-negotiate what you've agreed to do, like if you've agreed to go on a second dinner date and then they try to convert that into a for sure definite sex thing, they maybe haven't successfully up-negotiated, but they are attempting to up-negotiate, and that's a problem. Or plying somebody with drugs and alcohol, right? Like, they always order you a drink refill before you've asked for one, or you're both sharing a bottle of wine and they always pour for you before your glass is over, or, they're noticeably only really sipping, but they're really encouraging you to drink more, like handing your glass and that kind of thing. Like, these are known, like not even half, like 80% of what I talked about being coercive in that video, part of the reason why we know it's coercive, is for no other reason than those are techniques that they teach men in manosphere spaces to do to try and pressure women into giving them sex. Like, Whether it's the alcohol, the up negotiation, relocating to a second area you didn't previously agree to, randomly exposing you to something sexual, whether it's nudity or porn, using guilt or shame. Those are all techniques that people in the manosphere use because they know that it works to pressure people to give them something that they wouldn't otherwise freely give. So anyways, I think it's interesting that there are people, like you explain to them, I understand that you think that's what coercion is. However, that's an antiquated view of what coercion is. This is not watering down what it is, but it's more accurately reflecting the reality of the kinds of coercive techniques that are employed by people. So anyways, I want to maybe find another video that I can make where I talk more specifically about what boundaries looks like, because clearly people do not know what boundaries are supposed to be. And don't know how to express them. And it's hard. Like, how do you really express boundaries without there being some kind of pressure there? And I think if you're in a mutual relationship, both people care about each other, they're both invested in maintaining the relationship, because you want to make the other person happy, when they tell you what they need to feel happy, there is a sort of pressure in hearing that. However, I think framing an intention does matter, and there is a difference between do what I want or else and I would like it if we could do blah, blah, blah. Or doing something with your own behavior, as in, I see that we're not really on the same page. This is a deal breaker for me. So I'm sorry, but I don't think this is going to work out. I'm going to pursue people that I can have the kinds of relationships I want to have with. And I wouldn't even say that last part, but that's the function of it, is like you choosing to walk away from situations that are difficult for some people to walk away from. But sometimes, if you already know that it's a no for the other person, if you do want to act in a way that's not going to be pressuring, you do have to remove yourself from a situation that's hard. But anyways, I want to talk more about boundaries because it is difficult, and there are my experience has been that there are a lot of people out there who are just like, they don't see a difference. They just think that there's either you're being direct or you're being indirect, and everything is always pressure. And so there's not functionally in their heads a difference between do this or else and this thing is important to me and I would like it if we could do this, right? Or I would like it if I was able to do this, whatever it is. And they don't understand the difference. They're like, okay, in one version I'm just being direct, and the other version I'm being indirect, but ultimately goes to the same points. Like, what the fuck is the point? Why wouldn't I just do the first one? And it's almost hard to deal with people like that. And I feel like if you've interacted with a person like that, you know what I'm talking about. Like the people who are just like, why would I, they don't get what pressure is, because they're so used to using it. They don't understand that they're in my experience, when I have dated people who use one technique over another, it does substantively create a different culture in the relationship of how communication happens. When I'm interacting with somebody in a relationship, it doesn't even matter if it's a dating, kink, platonic relationships, even just friendships. It is, the relationship culturally feels different. The environment of the relationship feels different when the way that somebody conducts themselves is, if you don't do what I want you to do, this bad thing will happen, or this thing that you want won't happen, right? If you don't agree to cancel your plans and go to this movie with me, then I'm not going to your birthday party next week. If that's the way the relationship goes, that feels very different than somebody saying, I'm super excited about going to your birthday party next week. I really love it if we could have some one-on-one time before then. So I would like it if we would be able to go to the movies. So fucking different. So fucking different to have somebody give you that option. And then if you keep declining what they want, if you're not on the same page, if you can't say yes to the things that they want you to say yes to, then okay, maybe this friendship, relationship, whatever isn't worth it. And then that's on you to end the relationship, as opposed to being an asshole to the point that you compel someone to either break up with you or do whatever you want. So the way that you communicate matters is the summary. Oh, that's awesome. I went on my first 2 munches recently. Your content has been so educational and encouraging, especially as a fellow ACE person. Thank you. You're so welcome. I'm glad to hear it. Hopefully it's gone well. Thank you for being so brave and sharing and exploring. That's super exciting. Yes, how you phrase the request is everything in my opinion, such as asking versus demanding. Even if you phrase it as asking, but it's actually demanding, that's not cool. Yes, and it's like, how do you boil down that difference where you're like genuinely really asking and there's a real choice, and ask with only one possible answer and a demand, and all of the shades between those two things, and where is the line between acceptable and not? And I feel like, does it make sense if I say I feel like there's like, people are missing the emotional logic of this. Like, if you look at those two things, you say, well, but they ultimately end up in the same place, so whatever, it doesn't matter, they're not really that different. The way that requests land on people emotionally affects their perspective of what responses are possible and how they are able to respond to you. And so the more open-ended you are, the more able they are to freely give an accurate response, which increases your confidence that you're really getting genuine, true information from this person about what they're okay with. Yes, thank you so much, Sean, for the additional gifts. I appreciate it. And welcome to our 10 new members. Congratulations to everyone who got a gift membership. That's so exciting. And thank you so much for the gift members. So, we have that going on. I think people just don't realize that, like, if you're being demanding, that shuts down everything down to like basically one or two options, which is them acquiescing or possibly escalating into a fight of some kind. Versus if you are a lot more open-ended, then people typically feel more able to give you an accurate response of what they really feel. And that's hopefully what you want. And also keep in mind too, if you can't trust somebody to give you an accurate response about what they're capable of, what they like, what they dislike, what they enjoy, if you can't trust them to give accurate responses to questions in those areas, are those people that you want to be in intimate relationships with? Whether it's kinky or romantic dating or sex, it is higher risk to you to be with people that you can't trust to give an accurate response. So you could also just think about it from that way too. Like, I can't trust this person is going to, communicate with me, because when I do ask them, they say, whatever you want, I don't have any preferences, I don't care, I want whatever you want, some flavor of that. That's not how you build a mutually consensual relationship. And I feel like the danger that a person with a lack of introspection poses to a relationship is underestimated a lot of the time. Yeah, I don't think on YouTube there's a way to gift. Oh no, my internet just crashed. Oh no. All right, I'm hoping that was short enough to where the stream didn't disconnect. Let me see if my chat message goes through. Okay, I just saw it. Okay, so I think we're still connected to the same stream. Let me double check. Thank you so much, internet service providers. You are fantastic. You are amazing. Never failing to maintain my stream health at any point in time. All right, have a good weekend, Lexi. Thanks for stopping by. See you later. Okay, good. I very briefly saw that there was a dip. There was like zero frames being sent to YouTube for like 10 seconds. And so I just assumed that the stream was going to disconnect because it has happened before. Again, knock on wood. I find that making sure the person knows I am depending on them to be honest with me, and I need them to say forward when they need to. Yes, I feel like having that up front from the beginning in a relationship is the healthy thing to do. A lot of people go into relationships and try to use boundaries as a way to change what the other person is doing. Yeah, and exactly, they don't need to be changed to be compatible with them. Yeah, it's like, you know, there are things that are changeable in a relationship, and there are things that are not. If the area of compromise that you need to have in a relationship is like, you're, you know, we're not trying to live together, we're not trying to nest together. You're a morning person, I'm a night owl. So don't expect me to respond to your text messages when you wake up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. You know, wait for me to wake up. It might be a couple hours, but I will get to you, right? That's like, okay, you're just understanding each other's differences and then coming to a mutually beneficial, understood arrangement about what's possible. Versus, let's say one of you is a morning person and one of you is a night owl. And it's always the morning person. The morning person, blaming all the morning people, the morning person expects the night owl to shift to their sleep schedule to make the relationship work. Like, if you want to date me, you have to wake up at the same time as me and respond to me and do my morning routine with me and this, that, and the other. If that's that important to you, you can give people the choice and say, I would like it if we could try, you know, each other's routines. I think would be the fair way to do it. I would like it if we could try each other's routines and see how it feels. I would love to be able to spend more of my day awake with you. And so maybe one weekend we try it on my schedule, and the next weekend we try it on your schedule and see how that goes. I think that would be fine. That's equitable. That makes sense in my head. That's different than the morning person being like, if you're gonna, not in like a DSE way, but just like, if we're going to be a relationship together, we're going to live together, we're going to do whatever, you need to be in my schedule. We are getting up at 6 a.m. We are weekend warrioring. We're going to get up. We're going to do yard work. We're going to go to brunch. We're going to rock climb. We're going to do more home improvement projects, you know. And if you can't handle it, sucks to suck, you know. I feel like that's a bad way to conduct a relationship. Like, if that other person doesn't want to do that, they might want to try, like, give it the old whirl, like, you know, I've never really tried it before. Let me try it, you know? That's not a promise to change anything. But if it gets to the point where it's like, hey, they don't really want to do it, they've tried it, it doesn't work for them, but you're still pushing them to do it and putting the relationship as a stake to make that happen, you're kind of already just saying the relationship is over at that point. Like, you can't change, you have to change or else we can't have this relationship. Sounds like this person isn't compatible. And you have to think, is this such a genuine need that I like have to have this in a relationship to be happy? Or can I compromise on what makes me comfortable to keep this relationship and give up on my dream of compelling this person to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning with me? I think there are a lot of people who will go either way. I think there's people that would say, you know what, it doesn't really matter if they wake up at the same time as me. I think it's kind of cute to watch them sleeping. It's not really a big deal. Or they might say, it's really important to my lifestyle. I need somebody who's going to want to wake up at dawn to go paddle boarding with me at the sunset and do these things, and that's my life, and I don't think I can live with somebody, have a relationship with somebody who isn't able to keep up with that. And so maybe it sounds like a stupid reason to break up, but in reality, that is that important to you, then the logical conclusion, the only logical conclusion, is that you need to end the relationship. Or maybe if you're poly, you de-escalate that relationship. Maybe that doesn't end up being like a nesting partner for you, but you know, maybe keep that relationship going in a different capacity. By the way, listen to your explanations about coercion and consent. As a young guy who means well, but also learns mostly on mistakes that I wish I could prevent, thank you so much for your insights. You are so welcome. That is why I do what I do, and I'm glad I could help. Thank you. Ooh, thank you so much for the donation. Sean, $20 on Super Chat, says, our tasting event is tomorrow night. I will be there as a volunteer. Anyone in the LA area, please feel free to attend. Info on my FetLife profile, which is the same as their YouTube username. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Next story on next live stream. Thanks, Evie. You're so welcome. I hope everything goes well at the tasting event. I think tasting events are a great thing for newbies. these. I wish more places did them and had the means to do them probably more accurately. But if you're in LA, go check it out. Sounds like a fun time. Me and my partner both sleep in, but I usually do an hour longer. She likes watching me sleep, and I like being watched. Very mutually beneficial. That's adorable. Actually, other alternative option for that too, you have like slightly different sleep schedules, is just like the one that's awake like cuddles the one that's still sleeping while they're sleeping, and then like you just like, I don't know, check the news on your phone. Answer emails from bed, check the news on your phone, scroll on your social media platform of choice until they wake up, and you go, hey, sleepyhead, good to see you're awake. Do you want breakfast? And then you go do breakfast. Or you make breakfast, and then they wake up because they smell bacon or whatever. I've heard people like bacon. I've heard this is a thing people enjoy. That's actually something I used to do in one of my previous relationships that was fun, is we used to make breakfast together, which I still kind of do sometimes, but like I'm not really a breakfast person, and so you kind of have to be okay with me cooking you food and then not eating any. And surprisingly, a lot of people feel like that's really awkward and they don't like it. So it doesn't happen quite so much. But yeah, anyways. Da-da-dum. Ooh, I won't be able to watch the whole stream because it's already 2 a.m. here in England, and I'm going on holiday to Greece today. That's exciting. Have a fun time in Greece. Yeah, we're the home of the Golden Corral, yeah. What if there's any buffets in Greece? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. I don't really know about how like restaurant culture is in Greece. As someone from the South, 90 without AC sounds like a brat punishment. I prefer to think of it as I'm acclimating to climate change. Like, I can be outside in pretty hot weather and it doesn't bother me at all. Like, actually, even like being... The only time it bugs me is like when I'm trying to sleep, honestly. Just during the daytime, I actually think it's nice that it's like... I don't know how warm it is in my apartment. It's definitely cooler than it is outside. But it's probably like... high 70s in here, I'd guess. Maybe low 80s. Bad at guessing temperature, somewhere in there, though. All right, see you, Twixie. Stay safe on your travels and have fun. Oh, no worries. I was not having an existential crisis. I find the question of whether or not I'm a masochist to be interesting, and I think it's beneficial for other people to see my thought process about how I decide one way or the other. I don't feel any stress or discomfort about it. I just think it's like, I think it's, it's important to think about the labels you use and why you use them and why you choose not to use certain ones. So I think it's fine. I like it. I like exploring those things, so don't feel bad. Do some people like pain not because they actually like it per se, but because they like to see if they can do it, like the challenge of maintaining calm? Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say there's, at least for me, I definitely have scenes where a big part of it is I want to, even if I know it's uncomfortable, I want to prove to myself that I'm capable of enduring it. So at least for me, that definitely is one of the motivations that I experience, is like, I don't really get something out of the pain sensation alone, but I do like knowing that I'm stronger than I think I am. I can get through something, even if something makes me, cry. I live through it and it's fine. Oh, yes, it's just Dernwin. Yes, it's not the Sean part. Thank you, Sean, for correcting me. But anyways, you can look it up if you want to know about the tasting party and events in LA. But yeah, a lot of people like pain. I think actually it is relatively rarer for masochists to just like pain and find the sensation of pain itself to be pleasurable. I think there are people who are more or less compelled by the secondary benefits that they get out of pain. Like, some people are adrenaline junkies. Some people, they love skydiving, they love base jumping, they like bouldering, they like roller coasters. You know, they like really extreme intense things. They like the adrenaline they get from it, and that's very rewarding for their body, just whether it be like neurobiologically. Some people are wired to get more out of that than others, and so if you're in that category of, for whatever reason, this thing in my brain, like it just hits that spot right where it's motivating for me to do it. I don't have to like it while I'm doing it, but something about how I feel afterward makes it worth it, or the intensity of it isn't pleasurable, but there's something else about the intensity secondarily that's kind of hard to identify what it is exactly, that makes it enjoyable. Like, and there's also, like, you know, you get, like, you know, the runner's high, the subspace. You know, some people are able to, even if they don't like the pain, they're able to get to a place of subspace relatively easily, and so it's kind of like I'm doing the really shitty thing to get to the good thing at the end, and I know once that clicks in, then what I had to do to get there was worth it, is I think a big thing as well. Oh, thank you. Hey, Evie, thank you for your videos. They help me understand myself better and deal with a past manipulative relationship. Your content came when I needed clarity. I'm so grateful. You are so welcome. That is a big part of the reason why I do what I do. I know we do not get enough education about what healthy, positive relationships look like, and that gap can very easily be taken advantage of by people that either intentionally or unintentionally do not treat us well, and that can cause us a lot of hurt and confusion about why things happened, why we allowed them to happen, why we feel the way that we do, and being able to offer some clarity and closure around that is, I think, really, really powerful. So I'm glad I could do that for you, because yeah, I know it's like, despite all the conversations we have had in the last decade, unfortunately, we still have a persistent belief that bad relationships only look like a very couple specific things, and if it's outside of that, then it's like, was it really even that bad? Were they being manipulative, or are they just like bad communicators? You know, and it's like, if something's a pattern, maybe there might be something else going on. So I'm glad I could help with that, and I hope you're on to better things. Yes, exactly. And some people also suffer with chronic pain in ways they can't control, so having pain in ways and places they choose can distract them and provide relief. Yes. I want to be clear, I have a class I teach about this, and I talk about, like, the chronic pain of it all. I talk about, like, the basically 20 different kind of most common motivations for masochism. This is very, like, top of the dome, most common overview I could give for the sake of a live stream. But yes, you're definitely right that the chronic pain and chronic illness component is a big thing for a lot of people, both because I find that there's the I want to be able to choose pain that I have control over, and my baseline is so high to begin with that in order to notice it, I have to have a lot of intensity, or it's escape from the intensity I experience and I'm choosing it, and that's better. Or I think as well, there's so much overlap between autoimmune issues, chronic illness, neurodivergence, connective tissue disorders, and being kinky, that there are a lot of people where we don't know why. This is like, I think somebody asked me the other week, like, if there was something that you would want to do a research study on about kink, what would it be? And this would legit actually be it, is I need there to be more, like, any study looking at the crossover between those things. Because there's clearly something. There's clearly fucking something going on physically, mentally, genetically, maybe even, we don't know, that's causing there to be so much overlap. I definitely know a lot of people where it's like, I have these chronic pain issues, I have EDS, I'm kinky, and I have ADHD, and doing this painful thing is the only thing that calms my brain down. It's the thing that lets me, like, shut off for a little while, or it, like, I just like the feeling of that intensity. And it's like, it's almost kind of like, maybe, I don't know if I should have this in my class, but there are some people who, because of the fact that they're neurodivergent or have other things going on, they are hyposensitive. And so, you know, they don't notice, you know, sort of the smaller, gentler forms of touch, but they need that level of intensity in order to, like, perceive sensations. And that's what people can also be a mix of like hypo and hypersensitive as well. It's all very wibbly wobbly, and I think that's part of it too. For a lot of people, is they deal with hyposensitivity, and so because they don't notice other sensations that other people might more readily recognize, doing kink allows them a way to have like intimate touch at a level that works for their brain and their body. But again, we don't really have a lot of data about this. This is all very like anecdotal. I know people who are like this. This is conversations I've had with friends and partners about like, why do we think that we're like this? What is going on? Hey, why does everybody I know have fucking connective tissue disorders? Why does everyone I know have hypermobility? Why does everyone I know have celiac? Why does everyone I know have this other thing? You know, it's amazing. It's really, really, really fascinating how much that overlap is there. Yes, exactly. It's grounding. You can't focus on other things in the moment of sensation. Yeah. It's definitely partly a sensory seeking thing for me. Yep, absolutely. I clicked here tonight because your title was boundary setting. Well, ask questions about boundary setting. We will definitely talk about it more. We talked about it a little bit earlier. And now we're talking about, I don't know, chronic illness and kink and masochism, which definitely overlaps with that subject. But, you know, we always talk about like 50 different things on these streams, which I think is fun. And I like it. So, all right. Looking for questions. All right. We got time. We got plenty of time. Oh my God. For a second, I thought it said I'd been live for 0 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, did I stop streaming and didn't notice? How does that work? Because the chat's still going. Do I enjoy holographic stuff? Like, I don't know how to take this question. I've done VR very briefly, like one time. And if you mean like holographic in like a VR sense, I like the idea of it. But also, I get like motion sickness from watching 3D movies, so I feel like I probably would not have a good physiological response to like being in the metaverse. So I haven't really tried it that much. As far as things like a holographic design, you know, I do. I don't really like, you know, wear that in like clothing and stuff very often. You know, this is kind of, you know, standard uniform for me is kind of more stuff like this. But, you know, I could see myself like in a sparkly dress or something, or like, you know, I don't think it's very me, like oil slick nails, or like, you know, with eyeshadow stuff, I will wear like sparkly eyeshadow like fairly regularly just to add in some dimension. But, you know, like for like stickers and like I like sun catchers. I like a lot of my like home decor actually is more like, I wouldn't say it's holographic, but it's not like, you know, I like weather that makes me happy, and so I, you know, especially when it's summertime, I like having things that remind me that the sun exists, and so I like, you know, I have like sun catchers and like you know, crystals and things that, you know, make rainbows go everywhere, and it's very cute, and I like it. That I like, but I don't really wear holographic things, so I don't know if that answers your question, but it's you know, you get all kinds of questions around here. I have joked about explaining the difference between overstim bad and overstim good. It is a thing. It is a thing. Are there holographic tattoos? Trying to figure out the context. I don't know. I don't think there's holographic tattoos. I've definitely seen people who do tattoo designs that are meant to replicate. Like if you look at something 3D without 3D glasses on, and I don't know if you looked at the tattoo with 3D glasses on if it would look 3D, or if that's just like an art style. Could be cool if it is though. Oh my God, it's so sticky. I'm gonna have the fan on me here for a little bit. Hopefully the camera will survive, because I definitely need it. Like choosing to endure pain makes one more comfortable with it by removing some of the fear of it. I think that's a big part of it, yeah. Like just having the ability to know that you will get through it and not die. Like legit, I'm not even being hyperbolic. I mean like literally your brain, part of the reason why we have a fear of intense things, like tattoos, piercings, having a broken arm, fracturing something, doing intense pain things in a kink context is kind of on like a primordial brain level. We're like afraid of killing ourselves. And so it's like, but what if the pain is so bad that I just die? Is like kind of a thought that our brain has. And so by being able to do something and live through it physically and emotionally and get to the other side and have it be okay, tells our brain it's okay to relax a little bit, because we're not going to insta-die the next time that somebody hits us with something, or the next time that we stub our toe, or the next time that we most of us think that stubbing our toe sucks, and or having our arm fall asleep is uncomfortable and painful, or hitting our funny bone, right, is uncomfortable and painful, but we don't live in fear of that happening. We don't live in fear of, getting a paper cut or stubbing our toe. It happens. It sucks. But usually by the time you get out of childhood, you've had those experiences and you go, ow, ow, that fucking goddamn it. Why was that there? And then you move on and you just get on with your day. As opposed to looking around every corner like, oh my God, I could stub my toe here. Is this going to kill me? Because your brain's learned, usually from childhood, that you can stub your toe and you're not literally going to die. And part of that comes from caretakers responding to, bids for reassurance correctly. And, they're definitely, depending on how you were raised and what kinds of experiences you had physically, you may have a different reaction based on that. If your parents told you to suck it up and who fucking cares, or if they overly coddled you, that can also affect your perception of pain. A lot of pain is perception and how we talk about pain to ourselves, and that in and of itself is a really fascinating thing too. Is oh my God, I'm just thinking of so many things. I'm do I have this in my class? Do I talk about self-talk? Do I talk about mental framing? I think I do. I gotta put up my list. All right, sorry, I gotta detour for a second here to check to see if I have that as a thing in my list of things about my classes. Let's see. Masochism, class, power of framing, and self-talk in perception of pain. Because that is definitely also a thing. So I think it's in there, but it might not be. Or I don't have time to get to it because for some reason every convention has now decided that every class is only allowed to be an hour and a half long and not 2 hours. So I have to trim things down a bit from where I would like to talk about them. I feel 2 hours is the perfect time for everything. Classes, live streams, 2 hours is the best. All right, moving on. You mean there's more clinical terms on sadism than everyday sadism? Yes, because there's the DSM has, I think the current language in the DSM is sadistic personality disorder. So there's that, there's everyday sadism, there's it's maybe isn't antisocial sadism, because there's prosocial sadism is another term that people use. So yes, there are lots of different terms of sadism that get used in literature. Yes. I think a lot of conservatives are insanely fetishistic and psychosexual and don't have a healthy outlet for kink because it's deviant and unchristian or whatever. I think that there's truth in that. Absolutely. Yes, nuance is alive. At least here on this channel. At least here. Yeah. I cannot seem to find your stream on Twitch. I've even been on your channel on Twitch. By the way, you thought about streaming on Kick. No, I would not go on Kick because I don't want to deal with the kinds of people who are on Kick. But I'm surprised you can't find my Twitch. Listen, the next time that I go live on Twitch, I usually post a link when I stream on Twitch on Mondays on Twitter. So if you click on that, that should take you to my profile. And as far as I know, it works. So if that doesn't work, I'm not sure what's going on, unless Twitch auto banned your account. Because so far the people I've had to ban on Twitch are literally bots who are click here to buy followers or whatever. Like, haven't had to ban anyone except for maybe like one person for being like really hateful and rude. So it's not normally a problem. Brownies as a term has become almost meaningless because it's been so misused. Yeah, and there's a reason I talked about that in the video of like, we just need to not let people use the term. Yes, I have not thought about hermeneutical injustice in so long, but I am familiar with the term hermeneutical injustice. Is that a Zizek? Is that a? I feel like that might be a Zizek thing. Denying people access to the concept and knowledge that they need to make sense of what happens to them. What you're doing with coercion is alleviating hermeneutical injustice. This is a classic example of consciousness raising. Hell yeah! I'm doing something good for the world. All right, next time somebody tells me I'm overusing the term coercion and that I'm watering it down and it's a legal term, it needs to be respected, I will respond with that by allowing people. Actually, that's kind of like the whole point of my channel, is allowing people to understand the language they need to like figure out what the fuck's going on with their desires and the relationships they want and why it is or isn't working for them. So, you know, just doing a little justice work, a little something, helping the planet, helping the world. Okay, so apparently people do get emails. People do get emails that I am live on Twitch, so it seems to be working. From Wikipedia, the diagnosis proposal appears in the appendix of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Disorders. This is the DSM-3R, which is quite a while ago. However, it was never put into use in clinical settings. It was not. Wait, what was that for? I think I missed the previous message that said what the diagnosis that didn't get adopted was. Because, yeah, the DSM-3R was a minute ago. I think we're moving on from the 5 soonish. I think we might be on like the 5, some 5R or something at this point. I don't keep up with that over much, but it seems like we're about due for an update. Ooh, how does responsive desire work into this? Unless this is considered pseudoscience and women don't experience things this way, it's hard as a man to feel like you have to lead while navigating coercion. Okay, so I think it's a really good question. Like, how do you deal with responsive desire? I don't know what this we're referring to, like if responsive desire is pseudoscience or not. I haven't seen any evidence that responsive desire is pseudoscience. I don't know if we have any hard scientific evidence that it exists as a distinct thing for people physiologically versus spontaneous desire or contextual desire. And there's basically 3 of them. There's responsive desire, there's contextual desire, and spontaneous desire. And I feel like the lines between them are a lot more fuzzy than maybe people think that they are. I think, honestly, I personally have a theory that a lot of people identify as having responsive desire when they actually don't. And the reason why they think they have responsive desire is because of a combination of primarily 2 things. One of which is responsive desire is primarily observed in heterosexual women, and because heterosexual women experience a lot of sexual shame, especially around being the one who is the desirer and being the pursuer sexually, being the initiator sexually, that they don't understand. They are cut off from that part of themselves potentially, and so they recognize their responsive desire because it's socially acceptable, but they don't recognize their consciously recognize their spontaneous desire because that would be socially unacceptable in a lot of circumstances. The other part is people are generally very disconnected from their bodies. This is an increasing problem. A lot of people have an issue connecting physiologically with their bodies, and so they don't necessarily recognize physically those initial physical or mental sparks of what would be maybe look more like spontaneous desire, and it just kind of passes them by. They don't really capitalize on it, and so they only really recognize when it hits them over the head like a hammer, like with responsive desire. So they're missing out. So anyways, I think it's kind of making them very discrete categories that are completely separate from each other, and that kind of also misses that there is a larger social context of a lack of bodily attunement and bodily awareness, partly because of the fact so much of what we do in life exists via the internet. and social stigma around especially women experiencing other forms of desire besides results of desire. But I think that the difference is one, if you're just like, I feel like protocol has to be different when you are going on a first couple of dates versus an established relationship. If you're on like date 1.5 and your level of communication with this person in total in your whole life has been a handful of messages on Hinge, a couple of text messages, and then 1 2-hour long dinner date, you don't fucking know what is going on in their head, if they have responsive desire or not, how attuned to their own body and their desires they are, what they like, what they don't like, what they think would be safe or comfortable or not. And so there needs to be a lot more of a conservative approach there. And also, I will say too, as a woman, I do kind of find it annoying when men put it on women to explain to men how to not be creepy, because I feel like there should be information that's transmitted from men to men. Like, I learned how to date from other women. I was given advice on how to navigate dating, being approached by a man, turning down a man, saying what I want and don't want. I learned that from other women. So I kind of feel like maybe men need to step up and like teach younger men how to navigate dating, and then younger men have to be willing to listen to what their answers are, and it can't be fucking Andrew Tate content. So that's one thing, as I will say, is like I get a little peeved if the approach is like, well, why aren't women telling us what we should do instead? And like most of the time women are saying what you should do instead differently, and then men throw their hands up and go, I don't know what I can do, nothing feels safe. And it's like, what do you want? Jesus. Okay. Because women are a monolith and everyone's going to think something differently. But I think the best way that you can do this is, one, talk to people. I think number one is you can just fucking ask. And there are women who exist, and luckily I think they're decreasing in population, who do get turned off by being asked direct questions. But if you are a young man and you don't have experience with dating, you don't feel fully confident in your ability to read body language and communication, especially with this person, if they can't tell you what they want, they are a dangerous person for you to pursue a relationship with, and that has to be part of your calculus. Because there are people who are going to be able to say what they want and what they don't want, clearly and directly. So you can choose to take on the risk of pursuing someone who can't communicate clearly, or you can choose to be with people who can. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is you can't actually ask. And I'm not saying you need to pull out a 20-page workbook in the middle of your day and go, this is an itemized list. Please individually sign every act that you would be okay with me doing to you or not. You can still have that dance where, like, the classic move is, you know, the vibes on the date were good, you were laughing, you were smiling, you were having a good time, you were talking for like 4 hours, you don't really want to go, but like it's late, you have to go check on your dog, whatever, and you're going back to the car at the end of the date, and then they're kind of lingering there for a minute, and then you lean in like 70-80% of the way, and you just say really quietly, you go like, may I kiss you, right? And like, it's up to them to go the rest of the distance to make the kiss happen, right? Either in that moment, they can see that you're 90% of the way there, and they can meet you the next 10, and then they made the kiss happen, so you're obviously both consenting. Or you can get most of the way there, right? You can get half, 75%, whatever of the way there. You can ask them if it's okay to kiss, and then they can say yes, or they can say no. Right? You're giving them an offer of what's available. And maybe you've horribly misread the situation. They go, oh, I'm actually not ready for that. And then they run away immediately. In which case, maybe do a play-by-play of what happened with the boys next week, and be like, this is what happened. These are the signals. Why didn't it fucking work out? Maybe they have Puritan bullshit they're working on. Maybe they have a phobia of lips. Maybe they think kissing is gross. Like, I don't know. But you want to do it, that's like, I feel like the safest, like, traditional way to do something is to, like, basically, you propose the action happening, but you give them the space to complete the action, right? Or you ask them and you say, like, Like, I've gone on a lot of first dates where, like, maybe we've been talking for a while ahead of time, and, like, the first thing that happens on the date is, like, would you like a hug? Or, like, are you a hugger? And then that's fine. I'm like, yeah, I'm a hugger. I'd love to have a hug. And then we have a hug. And then they go, oh, it's so good to finally see you. And, like, how's your day been so far? Yada, yada. And you get into, you get your drinks and your appetizers or whatever. You talk about life. So I found that to generally be, like, a good opening thing to do is, if you think if you feel like there's vibes there for approaching things physically, is you can ask in a way that's not like, push up my glasses on my forehead because I'm a nerd. Would it be, like, okay if I kissed you right now? I don't know why I converted from nerd to, like, Valley Girl, like, 90% of the way through that, but, like, would it be okay if I kissed you right now? There we go. That's the nerd voice. Would it be okay if I... like, don't be what's his name from fucking Dexter's Laboratory. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. So I feel like that's generally a good technique. Or, here's the fun thing you can also do, is even if you don't get to anything physical on the first date, after the first date is done, you can check in and go, oh my gosh, I had such a great time, it was so nice to meet you, I would love to get to see you again if you're open for that. And then they say, I'd love to see you again, I also had a great time, I'm free next Thursday, blah, 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 you make plans. And then, you make the plans, and then you would say, then you can ask your questions about, like, just to check in, like, before the date happens, like, would you be okay with me kissing you, right? Then you can ask, when it's not physical, is a safe barrier the text message, you're not, that to me is a very incremental escalation. I think going right to, like, sex is, like, a whole other conversation, right? And I feel like people are conflating being, I think people are, like, kind of falsely, they're putting everything under the same umbrella, like escalating to, like, a first kiss or a hug is the same thing as, like, trying to get a woman to have unprotected sex with you. And they're not the same thing at all. Like, most women are very, at least in my experience, are very, like, comfortable and okay, like, communicating about, like, initial physical boundaries and, like, turning down a kiss or turning down a hug if, like, something didn't go well. Or they might, like, say okay to, like, the hug, even if they're not really feeling it, and then afterwards they're like, I felt like we had a good time on the date, but it's not really what I'm looking for, so, like, sorry, like, good luck trying to find somebody else, right? And then it just doesn't ever become an issue again. So anyways, that's my opinion on that. And then as far as, like, getting into responsive desire and how that side of it works, that is something that you would establish, like, into a relationship when you're getting to the point of not just having any kind of physical escalation, but, like, now you need to be very directly talking about sex. And I'm so sorry for all of you. I know talking is, like, the worst thing ever and people fucking hate it and they don't want to do it. But, like, that is the actual answer, is you do have to talk about sex before you do it. If you want to be a safe person, you do have to check in about physical escalation to the point of putting your genitals inside somebody. Because there are points in that have to be discussed that you can't, like, you can't tell by vibes if somebody's on birth control. You can't tell by vibes if somebody's had an STI test recently or not. So you have to have some conversations at some point if you want to be a safe person, Is that a thing, asking in text for a kiss? I've never experienced that, but I'm saying if you're nervous, like, that is an option you could do. Like, that is, like, I haven't had it for a kiss, but, like, I have had it for, what did I have? I had somebody text me about something. I think I was having a hard week, like, something had happened, and the person I was going to go out with is like, I'm sorry you've had such a bad time. Like, if you're up for it, I'm totally down for, like, hugs or high fives, like, when we get to the date, if you want some like, reassurance. And I was like, oh, sure, that'd be fine. So, like, they, we hadn't gone on a date yet, and so it was, like, their way of asking if it was okay if they, if we could do, like, a physical thing even before we really had a date, and that worked out great. It was fine. I always told people the worst thing that usually happens from asking is you get rejected, but at least you know for sure and no longer have to wonder. Yeah. ideally my perfect partner would just intuit my desires immediately as I would theirs, preventing any need for talking. Yes, that's the most people would like that, I think. And it's bizarre to me, but that's how other people operate. I also think some people approach things as like a game with points or goals instead of being a cooperative experience. Takes both parties interacting with each other. Yes, like don't approach it as like a how do I get this person to do the things I want to do? What button combination do I need to press to make this thing possible? Don't think about it that way. Think about it like we are creating a collaborative experience together. If you think about it that way, you will have much better outcomes, because then you understand that in order to create a collaborative mutual experience, you have to understand, not guess, what the other person wants. And to do that, you have to talk. So if you're escalating to sex and you're worried about responsive desire, and that being the thing, first of all, I feel like, especially, first sexual contact stuff, very, serious part of a new relationship, a lot of unknown stuff. You should already be having conversations about STI statuses and tests, barrier usage, birth control uses, especially if you're, there's a penis and a vagina involved and they're going places. Got to talk about the birth control. I think it's important. And then because you have to talk about the unsexy stuff, then that lends itself to you are having these conversations, then you can talk about what you're comfortable doing and not doing. So for me, what that usually looks like, and I'm trying to think about it, it's been a minute. Like, how do I even, what the fuck do I even do? Because I feel like I'm very, and I have heard this from people, and it's always been complimentary, that I am very direct, and I say what I want, and I don't leave any room for confusion. That's always been taken as a positive, so make of that what you will. But, maybe it's because of my job, I don't know, but I find it very easy and comfortable to talk about these things. And so when it's getting to the point of a relationship where there's going to be an escalation of physical contact, and also, polyamory, so you do have to talk about and share, STI status, what's everyone's policy around barrier usage and all that has to happen. But then you get into I'm trying to think of why the fuck do we even I feel like I don't even worry about it. It just it comes up as a conversation and then it just happens. I don't even try to manufacture it happening. I guess if I was going to manufacture the start of a conversation of talking about physical escalation, I'm pretty sure the way that I would do it, and maybe this is unsexy to people, but I don't give a fuck. This is what works for me. This is what works for me. And let me tell you, it's worked great. So I have complete confidence this will find you very, very positive relationships. But what has worked for me has been, so it's I feel like we have a really good connection, and usually we've had usually on dates I've had conversations about kink and my experience with that, and we had conversations about kink and sexuality and stuff already, so that's already kind of on the table to a degree, so it's easy to bring it up again and be I'm really excited about seeing you again. I'm really excited to see where a physical relationship goes. I'd love to talk more about what kind of things you're into. And I frame it as a conversation about telling the other person things that I'm into, exploring what they're into, and making sure there's compatibility. Because okay, if somebody is really into getting pegged and their main thing is getting pegged, it's we are barking up the wrong tree. That's not gonna work. So I'm glad we talked about that now, because that's not gonna work out. So you talk about what things you're into, what you're not into, and that can even just be that could be anything, right? It doesn't have to be okay, do you like receiving oral sex? That could be what style are you into French kissing? Do you do you like to use toys at all? How do you feel about this thing? And I try to have it be a very exploratory, curiosity is the main experience I try to cultivate. If anything, is we're building anticipation. I think about it the same way I think about planning a vacation. Is it's exciting. There's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of different things that we could do. So let's talk about all the different things that could be on the table, what we each like, what we both really want to have happen. It doesn't have to be literally everything all up front at once. I sometimes find that like fun and interesting, but that's not everyone's cup of tea. But at least for like what's on the table of like hey, like for, especially again for polyamory, you do generally have to be more communicative about like what stage of sexual contact you're happening, because different people have different agreements about like what needs to be communicated to other partners. And sometimes you do have to like get more into the nitty gritty of like, you know, hey, the next time we see you, you know, on my end, I'm definitely open to having sexual contact. Like, how are you feeling about that? And then you get into sharing STI stuff and talking about that. And then you get into like, you know, for me, I really like this kind of stuff. I'm not really so much into this, you know, I don't really like, I don't know. Let's say, for example, you're the kind of person where you like, maybe you sometimes do anal, but anal really isn't your thing. So you might say like, you know, for me, I really enjoy, you know, kind of exploring through like hands and like oral sex first, but eventually I'd be open to including PIV if the dynamic, you know, feels good when we get into exploring. Maybe not on this date, but maybe in the future. Definitely check in with me and I can tell you how I'm feeling. One thing that I don't enjoy is, you know, anything around my butt. I'm not into anal stuff. Like occasionally I might do it if, you know, if the mood is there. For the most part, I would consider that to be off limits. Like just kind of like simple stuff like that. Like I don't fucking know. Like I feel like, okay, actually my advice is think about it, but like don't think about it too much. Honestly, I feel like if it's the right relationship, it will not be ruined by talking about sex. And maybe that's just me. Thank you so much for the gift memberships as well, Sean, for ending the stream. We have 15 minutes left. You've not asked your question and I had an answer. Now is a great time to either re-ask it with a super chat or wait, and I might be able to get to it here in the next 15 minutes. But I do want to really wrap up this question about responsive desire because it feels important. But I feel like if it's a good relationship and you have good chemistry, you've already established that by like incrementally doing the like hug, kissing, you know, having them sit in your lap, touching over clothing. Like if you've already read good chemistry signs from that, in my experience, it's pretty rare that stuff isn't good, and then you just like fumble the ball on like, well, we're actually not, unless you have I don't know, maybe if you're somebody who has very specific desires around like genital specifics, like if you're really into like nipple play and their nipples have no sensation, okay, fucking maybe that's a problem. But for the most part, if it's just a chemistry question, I've never had chemistry be really, really good for items A, B, C, and D, and then be shit for like items E and F, you know? Like it's never been like, how are you so good at this? And then so terrible. It's never happened. Again, maybe you have people with different experience levels with specific sex acts, but chemistry-wise, it has been a problem. Like maybe people have different style for oral, or they have different positions they like for sex acts. And so maybe there might be differences there, but just on a chemistry level, usually it hasn't radically been different, you know, from those first several steps into the last couple of ones that you're trying to broach. But with response desire, if somebody has that, hopefully that is an idea that they can communicate to you, but that's more of a relationship question, in which case you should have a basis of trust, affirmative, clear communication, and they should be the one to tell you, you know, I definitely like having sex with you. I enjoy sex, but I don't always feel like mentally in the mood on a regular basis. And so I'm fine with you initiating, but I might tell you no. And it has to come from them that they say that they're okay with you initiating, and then like what initiation looks like. And then oftentimes that kind of becomes a balancing act of like how often you're initiating, how often are they saying no, like, you know, because I think I have responsive desire and then I have a lower sex drive. And those are not the same thing. Somebody can have a very high sex drive and have responsive desire. They might actually even have a higher sex drive than you and have responsive desire. But I think people conflate responsive desire with low sex drive. And that's also a little bit dangerous for relationships too. So I think having a responsive desire is fine. But again, that's like a communication thing of like, you know, you can talk about like, you know, how do you feel about like initiating sex? You know, my approach is I like, you know, I wouldn't say that like, maybe you're somebody who's like a medium sex drive. You can be like, you know, I wouldn't say that I necessarily have like a high sex drive, but I do feel a lot of like spontaneous desire. And so if I feel like we have a moment and I'm in the mood, I might want to try to like, you know, propose the idea to you that we have sex. Is it something that you're comfortable with or not? Like, how comfortable do you feel with people initiating? And then like, what kinds of initiation are you comfortable with or not? And then again, they might know, they might not know. That's a risk assessment thing for you. And in my experience, especially when I was a lot younger and I didn't really know what I wanted, I didn't really know how to communicate it yet because I hadn't come to fully understand who I was as a person and like what I was comfortable with or not. So I didn't know, like, really, that if I hesitated or if I said, you know, I'm not really sure, I don't really know, they would take that as a no and then turn it into, well, what do you know that you would like doing? And I think that's the best way to pivot if you do run into people who they don't know what they like or not, or they don't know how to communicate, or they don't feel comfortable communicating what they like or not, or outright rejecting you, and you propose, you try to initiate, what fucking way you initiate sexual contact. Again, I just feel like for me, like, I just feel like, isn't it just better to be like, hey, do you want to have sex right now? Like, I just don't understand why that's a problem. Like, listen, I like, you know, maybe that's me, that's my brain, I don't know. But also keep in mind, I date a lot of demi people. I very rarely date other people who are like, I don't think I've ever, maybe once, I've dated somebody else who's like farther on the A spectrum than I am, let's say. And so I primarily have dated allosexual people and demisexual people. And demi people, that's awesome. That's like completely simpatico. That's actually the golden zone, TBH. That's how it works. But when you're dating people who are like allosexual, even that, I've never had an allosexual person be like weirded out or put off by the idea of like, hey, I would like it because I don't always know. If you feel like you're in the mood for sex, can you just like directly ask me and I'll tell you if it's a cool idea or not. I've never had anyone like respond to that negatively, but like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I feel like it's kind of fun to be like, oh my God, wait, we have a moment. We can do something. Like, do you want to, same thing. It's like, it could be a scene. It could be sex. Like, I've definitely had that be like, hey, do you want to like do something like bondage right now? Like real quick? Does that seem like a fun idea? And then you just do it. Or just like, hey, do you want to like do something right now? And then eventually you get to the point in a relationship where you have enough experience with each other and you have enough rapport built up, you have enough trust built up to where, you know, you've had enough conversations, you know what they like and what they don't like, they've communicated that with you, and so you know it's okay if you just like whip your dick out and are like, it's working. If you want to hop on the ride, it is open and available. Maybe I wouldn't say that, but like, you can do that kind of thing, you know, it's fine. I mean, you can build that rapport. And then also, too, I have had partners, and I feel like this is a good thing, too. You can also ask people to tell you when they're in the mood. You can ask people to say, like, what you're into. Like, I don't always pick up, again, on neurodivergent people, on demisexuals, this, that, and the other. They don't always know when is a good time to, like, try to start a scene or try to start something else happening. And so they get a lot of reassurance over me affirmatively saying what I want and what I'm in the mood for, and then they like that, and then things happen because then I say what I wanted, and that's like a task. The hack is making it a task, and then if you have a submissive brain, it works great. But yeah, it's like if somebody has responsive desire, that should be communicated, and that's not something that's like having responsive desire or not. Like, typically, in my experience with responsive desire, it's less in play the first couple times you have sex because the excitement of initiating a new sexual relationship is so high that it overcomes the, not fear, but it overcomes it. Like, it had such an extra, it's so unique, it's such an extra level of excitement that like responsive desire isn't as play as much as it is in a relationship where you've been together for, 10 years or 5 years or something. Anyways. How's my dog? I can show you. Papacita, hi! The people want to know how you're doing. Would you like to come visit me? Hello. Hi, little fluffer butt. You haven't been on camera today. How are you? We have a dental cleaning, but that's not this coming Monday, the next Monday. Yeah, we got like 10 days we're doing a dental cleaning. Look at your little fuzzy head. Look at that little noggin. What's going on in that noggin? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just being cute. So that's how she's doing. That's how the puppy's doing. Yeah. Hi. Little pupper. All right. Let me get to some questions here. That was a long one, but hopefully it was a good conversation. In my experience, the signs are very clear and verbal agreement wasn't needed, but if someone did ask, I'd be totally fine with that. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are like scared about going off of just like physical cues and getting them wrong, which I think is valid and like, especially for a new relationship is understandable. But, you know, verbal confirmation, you know, believe people when they tell you what they do and don't want. And if they can't communicate clearly, then all right, they don't get to ride the ride. This ride is only for people who can communicate. All right, I'm going to try to get to one or two more questions here. My ex used to get mad at me that I wanted sex and she didn't, and then got mad at me for not knowing and initiating when she did want sex, but also got mad if I tried to initiate when she wasn't in the mood. Okay, you know what the solution to that is, other than breaking up with them, which is the actual solution? If you have a person in your life that's like that and expects you to like, why didn't you know I was in the mood? I've had that, listen, okay, neurodivergent people, demisexual people, not knowing, I didn't know that you wanted to do a scene. I didn't know that you wanted to do this. Understandable. As opposed to treating it as like a failure that you didn't understand and that they didn't give out the right signs. You understand that this is a problem that you can work on together because communication is a process. And then you go, all right, when I'm in the mood, I have a little, okay, do you know those signs you can put on like dishwashers that say like dishwasher clean, dishwasher dirty? Okay, when you're not in the mood, the dishwasher is clean. When you are in the mood, the dishwasher is dirty, okay? It's just on, off. And so if you live together, you can do that, because then you always have that constant sign that you can check in on about like, oh, something's happened. The sign has been updated. Light the fires. The game is afoot. Like you can do that. If it's more of a scale of like how in the mood you are, you can do like one of those, like, you know, like the Smokey the Bear, like fire danger wheels. You can do one of those. You can do, if you don't live together, you can do an emote thing or an emote, and you can do an emoji thing. You can say, if out of the blue you send me a smiling demon emoji, I will understand that you would like to have sex. And I will say, do you want to have sex? And then you can say yes, and then things will happen. And I will drive to see you. That is also a solution. So, no one's a mind reader. No, there are relationships, there are people where you just have good enough chemistry and you are linked up enough in terms of your amount of desire and level of sex drive to where you maybe don't need to use tools like that. But most people don't have that kind of connection. And most people don't have that kind of connection the entire time they're in a relationship with the same person. So, yeah. Yes, exactly. The beacon is lit. Yes, exactly the thing I was referencing. How's Morabella? Oh, she's great. Listen, it's too hot for me to have all these warm, fuzzy things on me, like genuinely. And so, there you go. She's fantastic. She's great. She's living La Vida Loca as she always does. She was at ballerina camp actually. But I will, for the next 5 minutes, have more Bella on my head while I am streaming. So, look forward to that. Yes, fridge magnets. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. I love when we managed to bring up Lord of the Rings. It happens more often than you think it would. It's, strange communication again. I know. But here's the thing. You don't always have to communicate with words. You can communicate with semaphore flags. You can communicate with collages. You can do interpretive dance. Like, fucking just find something, Find fucking something. If you want to send your partner the same meme every single time you're horny because you're embarrassed to say the words "I'm horny," that's fine. Use the memes. If you're horny, send your partner 10 memes that all are like me when I'm horny, or like, isn't it just normal girl stuff to think about dick all the time? I don't know. I don't know what people say in memes about sex, but send some of those. And they're like, they're sending me a lot of memes about sex. Wonder why. Suspicious. And then you can say, are you horny? And then they can go, yes. and then you can do the thing. Crazy, I know, so crazy. All right, let's do some questions. This is, I think, a good one to end on here. Any advice on feeling more confident / less awkward at dungeon parties? It's always very loud and crowded. My partner and I don't really know what to do with ourselves. So I feel like the key to feeling more confident at dungeon parties, okay, there's two things, and one of them is kind of like bullshit advice, but the other one's like actually probably a good tip. Let's start with the good one. And the good part is I feel like dungeons are the most intimidating when they are like in full swing and super busy. So I feel like the right technique to gaining confidence is to go early in the night as soon as possible before things get really crowded and busy. In my experience at dungeons that are not at conventions, if it's just your regular every Thursday dungeon party, most of the time there's gonna be a solid hour and a half of most people milling around, not doing kink, talking with each other, catching up, coming up with scene ideas, talking about what's in their toy bag, that kind of thing. And so you will get the opportunity to observe people not doing scenes, get an opportunity to talk to people who are not currently doing scenes, and kind of watch how people actually initiate into doing that kind of experience. So I think that's one way of just looking at people not in the middle of a scene and seeing the whole process, I feel like makes it feel less intimidating versus walking in when it's like at full swing at midnight. So that's one thing, is just going earlier and humanizing people essentially. The other thing is to realize that dungeon parties are, to a certain extent, implicitly somewhat performative and awkward because of what they are, and that's not a you thing. That's kind of just what they are by nature. Is you do have to find something to do with yourself when you're not playing, and that usually means sitting around with people and either observing scenes or just casually chit-chatting and talking somewhere. And that is as awkward as you choose to make it be. If you accept that that is a normal part of the dungeon experience, I think that kind of implicitly makes it less awkward, because that is just par for the course. If it's too loud for you as well, I know that makes it harder to talk, definitely get some earplugs. You can try the Loops earbuds. You could try noise canceling earbuds. Although those might be too noise canceling for a dungeon. You don't want to be able to hear some stuff, I imagine. But getting some Loops earbuds, I think, could be a good call. And then also, again, if you're going earlier in the night, it's just going to not be as loud because there's not as many people playing and screaming at that point in the evening. But yeah, it's most dungeon parties, when you're not playing, the point of them, and the only thing you can really do, is aftercare, going and getting a little drink by the snack stand, or talking with somebody. And if you're not doing one of those three things, it's, you're watching a scene, right? So the awkwardness can be part of it. Mm-hmm. I find it so annoying / pissed off in my experiences. Sometimes the person on the side without realizing it, then one of them wanted to constantly have me on the side for years but have a main girlfriend. Oh, that's annoying. I feel like there's maybe a part 1 of that I missed, but that is annoying. I feel people should just communicate clearly. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for questions today. It is very hot and I need to feed my dog dinner and sit in a cool bathtub, I think. So I'm going to do that. Thank you all so much for joining me on this Friday night. Really appreciate you being here. Oh, hi, puppy. Hi. Would you like to say goodbye to the people? We really appreciated you being here. Uh-oh, we sneezed on the microphone. My goodness. Why did we do that? Why are we sneezy? Why are we a sneezy pupper? That's so silly. I'll see you all next Friday. Thank you all so much for joining me on this Friday evening live stream. If I did not get to your question, please feel free to come back next week. We'll start off next week by answering some of the questions that I did not get to today. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. Stay safe, have fun, drink your water, wear your sunscreen. I'll talk to you again very soon. Bye. Yeah? Uh-oh. More bells gonna fall. There you go. Ta-da! Bye! You're so cute, little dog. All right, I'll see you later.